To address the issues facing Tennesseans today, from 10 News, this is Inside Tennessee.
Good Sunday morning. I'm John Becker along with my colleague John North here to moderate Inside Tennessee, another discussion with city council candidates. Our focus this morning is District 3. We're going to pop up a map and show you exactly where that is in the city. You can see it's in the northwest section of the city. You'll recall that a primary this month in August is happening for 5 of the 9 city council seats, and we're talking to all the candidates, and that includes District 3 this morning. We welcome the woman who holds that position right now, Seema Singh. Nice to have you with us, as well as Nick Ciparro. He is the challenger in this race. And Councilwoman, let's start with you first and talk about why you're running for another term.
Well, I want to start with why I ran last time. Last time, 4 years ago, I ran out of a great sense of anger about the injustice that was going on a national level. Since then, I've realized that anger is a great motivation, but it's not a way that you get anything done. So I've spent the last 4 years with a very steep learning curve and figuring out all the ways to get things done for the constituents in District 3. And I'd like to use all of that knowledge and the experience that I have and continue for another 4 years.
Nick, why are you running?
Well, it's pretty simple. My constituency asked me to. If you know how the election runs, the primary is basically an exercise to whittle it down, and then the city elects the people in the district. Our district is about 75% opposed to Seema. That's just a fact. And so basically people came after me and said, hey, we know you've ran before. Why don't you run for city council and this time win? So I said, okay. And so far, unearthing some of the things that the current city council is doing, spending $65 million on basically a black hole that used to be St. Mary's. That's an example. For taxes. And then safety, we're something like 86 officers down, actually. So, this is coming from somebody who literally said defund the police. My district does not support that at all.
Seema, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to the criticism by your opponent. Again, he's saying that 75% of your constituents are opposed to you. What do you say to that and his other pushback?
I am amused by that because I suppose what he's talking about is the last primary election where 75% of the vote went to the other 3 candidates that were running. But if that's a place that you want to be looking, then I believe when he ran last, 98% of their district was against him. So if that's the bellwether, I would have to reply with that. I am not a defund the police person. You can't just say things and have them be true.
You raise your hand at the banquet. You raise your hand at not funding the police.
I'd like to respond to that.
And we have that on video.
May I respond?
Sure.
Thank you. So the questions that were at the banquet were yes or no questions. And these are really complicated issues. They cannot be reduced to that. Asking a yes or no question on it's much akin to saying, have you stopped beating your wife? How do you answer that? Yes or no? So the question, I raised my hand on both because I think we need allocation of funds within the police department, and we need more funding for crime prevention, which will essentially give us less victims.
Let's stay with the police budget because that makes up the biggest chunk of the city budget. And let's dive into that a little bit, John.
Let's be a little more clear. Do you all think that the public safety should be the priority, or is there another area of need in the city that you think should have more funding than police and fire? Nick, let's start with you.
Well, if you live in a war zone, everything else doesn't matter. That's just a fact. So we have 21 murders right now. I think we might even have 22 or 23 so far. We're a month away from breaking any record of any metric in our city. You wouldn't say, hey, let's defund the fire department because we haven't had a whole lot of fires, but we're at the same number of police officers almost as firefighters. And so you think about that, you know, we're about 30% down right now. I mean, that's, you know, police officers prevent murders as much as they, you know, solve crimes or whatever. So, you know, having an entire city council and a mayor that literally will throw them under the bus is unacceptable. I don't care who you are or whatever. I don't care how much you disagree with whatever policies or anything. To throw the police completely out the door and think that you're going to stop a violent crime with a psychiatrist, it's just not happening. You know what'll happen? The psychiatrist will get killed.
Let's hear from Seema. Respond to that. You've been sitting on council. Have you guys been throwing KPD under the bus? Do you think, I think he's alluding to a small pilot program that KPD is now expanding in regards to people who are under severe emotional distress, but let's hear your perspective on funding for public safety.
Sure. If there is the opinion that I'm throwing police under the bus, that is wrong. I think if you talk to a lot of officers, I've been very, very supportive. There are a lot of good officers in this neighborhood that always respond when I bring up a constituent concern. Whenever there is a problem, however, I will point that out. And I know on council last week we were talking about a zero tolerance policy, which zero tolerance policies leave no civil liberties and rights for anybody. It's zero tolerance, it's zero common sense. I do think we need to always be assured that the police department is at its best, and it is a problem that our numbers are down. That's something that's going on all over the country. But no, I do not throw them under the bus. I have a lot of respect for a lot of the good officers that I have worked with.
We only have about a minute left, but I want to get your thoughts on how to recruit new officers. Are you willing to devote more money to hiring new officers? Nick, let's start with you. And does that include boosting their pay?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, if you know what I do for a living, I actually make ballistic armor. So I protect them and they protect us. So that being said, helping these officers have the right tools, we actually have some of the best training in the city of Knoxville. In fact, a lot of cities pilfer our officers from our academy. So
they do because of that pay. So I just want to hear a number from you. Should it be $10,000 more starting, 20? What would you say do you think would attract and keep officers?
You actually have to kind of ask them. You know, to be honest, if it's, you know, $1,000 bonus, that's probably not going to bring them. You know, but a 15 or 20% increase in pay, that'll probably bring them. Because that's what they're leaving for. They're leaving to Oak Ridge for 15%.
Councilwoman, your perspective on pay.
I do think that the officers need more money. That's a very difficult job. It's a job that I would be scared to have. I think there are two parts to it. We need to pay people better. We also need to get rid of the ones that are causing problems for the morale. That's a big piece of it. It's a difficult job to work when you don't know what you're walking into, and if the person's house or the situation that you're walking into is going to be seeing you as the enemy. So there are a lot of pieces to this, but yeah, I think a pay raise is a very good start.
We're going to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. Back with more of our conversation with these two candidates in District 3 right after this.